We had a bit of a solar storm fizzle last week, but not to worry. The sun launched a new solar storm and it's on its way to Earth now with some more chances for aurora. Those stories and more in the news this week. The space weather this week is really beginning to look up, especially after the solar storm fizzle we had last week from the fast wind from this coronal hole. It just kind of petered out on us and gave us only active conditions. But not to worry. We have two sunspots on the sun that have been growing like gangbusters, which has a tendency to unsettle things. And sure enough, right between them, the sun launches this big solar storm. It's not moving super fast, but it is headed straight towards Earth. And that should be reaching us about the May 26th. On top of that, we've had region 2659, which has been firing off a couple of little mini storms that are hot on its heels. So we should have a couple days of really good storming. Switching to our M-flare threat meter, you can see we are still very quiet. We are well below the seafloor. There aren't any big flares anytime soon, which make you GPS operators completely ecstatic. Now you can see the solar flux levels rise just a little bit starting around the 23rd. That was due to these new regions that are growing like gangbusters on the sun right now. That's also raising that solar flux level for you amateur radio operators. We're back in the marginal levels, and this should continue and help amateur radio propagation here through the next week. Switching to your solar storm conditions, you can see we've been pretty much unsettled until about the 20th when we got hit with that fast wind from that coronal hole. But as you can see, we only got to active levels. It never really bumped us up to storm levels. We did get some decent aurora, but it didn't really come down to mid-latitudes for all that long before things began to kind of settle back down. And it's going to kind of stay like this until we get hit with that new storm on the 26th. Switching to our solar storm prediction model, NLOL, this is NOAA's version of the model. The top panel's density, the bottom panel's velocity, and you can see that solar storm coming out, and it's going to be a direct hit when it hits Earth, but it's not moving all that fast. Right now, NOAA's predicting that we'll get hit by this thing about midday on the 26th, so expect some amateur radio operating issues as well as GPS issues at that time, and also the possibility for aurora. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating the hit from that incoming solar storm. NOAA's expecting minor storm conditions at high latitudes over several days with about a 40% chance of a major storm at high latitudes. At mid-latitudes, we are also expecting minor storm conditions, but not for an extended period of time, with only about a 10% chance of a major storm. Now, this should continue through the early part of the weekend, but then kind of taper off through the weekend, and by Monday, things should be pretty much back to normal. Switching to our solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, we are all still in the green. This is the story, folks. I sound like a broken record. It's going to continue like this through solar minimum. The nice thing is that we do have those two regions, region 2659 and 2660, that are managing to give us a little extra solar flux because they're growing so fast. So we are back into the marginal levels for amateur radio propagation for solar flux, so you guys can enjoy the bands when we're not having a solar storm. But all you GPS operators should be jumping for joy because things look pretty good for you. So the space weather this week looks to be very exciting. We have that solar storm that's en route. It should hit us about midday on the 26th. So you aurora photographers who kind of got disappointed with that solar storm fizzle we had last week, get your shutter fingers ready because it's coming. Now you amateur radio operators, on the other hand, we do have some extra solar flux from those new sunspot regions that have been growing quite rapidly, but we now have this solar storm that you're going to have to contend with. And I know some of you, at least from Hamvention, were telling me you have contests this weekend. So unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with that a little bit through the weekend, but the latter half of the weekend, things should be quieting down. I'm Tamitha Scove. Thank you for watching.